everyone, and welcome back after a few months of break that we took here to the next episode of the Jedi Way here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always on the Jedi Way by my co-host and Schmodown competitor there and Star Wars star, Laura Kelly. How are you, Laura?
I'm amazing. That was really fun getting to see our intro. I haven't seen it in a while. I haven't seen myself holding a blue lightsaber in a really long time. So that was interesting. And I'm happy to be back. Happy to be talking more Star Wars.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And today we're talking about Star Wars Visions that came out 3 weeks ago. We know, but life gets in the way. We have other things going on, and finally, we knew we had to bring the show back. And kind of crazy that it had been taking 3 months for us to come back. But what better way to come back than to talk about this incredible new anthology from Star Wars, from Lucasfilm, in conjunction with 7 Japanese animation studios to create 9 animated shorts here ranging from like 13 to 21 minutes and all kinds of different animation, Laura, all kinds of different voiceover approaches. We had an all English audio, all Japanese, original Japanese audio, subtitles, really incredible stuff. And I looked on when I was just kind of watching the shorts again. So many different subtitles were available and so many different audios, not just Japanese and not just English. So clearly this is a global attempt by Lucasfilm to lure even the younger generation to kind of give Star Wars a chance yet again. What did you think about overall? What did you think about Star Wars Visions?
So overall, I really enjoyed it, which is kind of surprising for me because
Hmm.
anime is not really my thing. I don't dislike it; it's just not something I generally gravitate towards. So when certain episodes of this anthology series landed for me, they really landed,
Hmm.
and it was really exciting. Some of them that didn't, they kind of didn't. There wasn't a ton of middle ground for me. It was
Hmm.
kind of it hit or it didn't. But overall, I really enjoyed most of these. I loved that they were as short as they were. That worked
Mhm.
really well for my attention span. I love that they were all so vastly different, just in
Yeah.
terms of like their look and their vibe. All of it just worked really well for me in terms of
Mhm.
like actually holding my attention, which has been a huge issue lately. So I was really happy about that. I really hope that we get more of this because
Mm.
it was just really interesting to get to see something new on screen for Star Wars that was just wildly different. It was
Mhm.
just refreshingly different, and I really appreciated that. What did you think?
Yeah, I absolutely loved him. I rewatched him again this afternoon in a 2.5 hour block, condensed, just watching them back to back to back. And I have to say, the first time through, you're watching it to be like, do I like it? Do I not like it? The second time through, you can just sit back and just enjoy what the animators were trying to do, what stories they were trying to tell you. Because this entire anthology is essentially ground based. There's no space battles in the sky. Do occasionally see, oh, sorry, in space, do we occasionally see ships and destroyers and things like, yes, but the big battles do not necessarily occur in space. I think the Twins is the only one that really occurs off of a planet, and I think that was a fantastically new and interesting way to approach Star Wars. And I really like the fact that they kind of let them do their own thing. They didn't have to be attached to canon. They didn't have to like figure out what characters. And we did see some familiar characters, especially in the second one with the band with Boba Fett and with Jabba. But overall, we didn't see a lot of familiar characters. The thing that was familiar were Jedi and Sith, kyber crystals, and the one line through all of them, which is I got a bad feeling about this, which you just kind of picked out who. It's like trying to find the mouse in Mickey Mouse when you're looking things, find Mickey Mouse rather when you're looking at a Disney film. And so I found that to be very cool. I only disliked or not liked one of them. The other ones are, sliding scale of whether I enjoyed them or not. But overall, I loved the animation, loved the fight sequences in almost every one of these things. And I loved the way that it really embraced the Japanese vibe, the Japanese approach. I'm a big Japanophile. So for me, this hit a lot of the buttons that I know and feel and love about anime and also about Kurosawa films, who's probably my favorite director. So it really checked a lot of boxes for me, and I was able to really sit back and enjoy it even more a second time. What do you think was how can I say, what was your approach to it, I guess? When you first heard that this was gonna happen, were you like, this, I don't know. Like, are you a purist in this way? I know you love Rebels, you enjoy Clone Wars. So when you heard about this Japanese animation, was there trepidation on your side?
I honestly, I think I was pretty neutral. I was
Okay.
pretty apathetic to the entire, like, just the fact that it was happening at all. And I think I'm not really sure kind of how I went into it. I think I didn't really have a lot of expectations.
Mm,
I'm not even certain if I watched the trailer more than once before I
wow.
sat down and actually watched this. I remember watching it once and being like, okay, that was a lot of it was a lot of quick flashes. I mean,
Mhm.
you didn't it was hard to sort of get a grasp of what exactly we were to expect.
Right.
I think from this and from the individual episodes. I think
Mhm.
maybe yeah, it was supposed to serve as, here's the general vibe of what you're going to get. It did a good job of that, but
Right.
I wasn't really sure what to expect on a more individual level. Um and it was so action packed. I think I was a little bit more surprised how grounded all of it felt when I
Mm.
actually sat down and watched it. Um, I I think that I was the most surprised, I think, in particular by the episode of the twins. I just
Yeah.
thought that one was like the most over the top, outrageous episode of all of them, which was really fun. I genuinely enjoyed it. But out
Yeah.
of all of the episodes, that was the one that I found the most surprising, I think.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun to sort of get to just go in without any expectations. That's not generally how I get to approach Star Wars.
Right.
Very much, it's very much usually a situation where I'm looking at a trailer and analyzing it to death and trying to predict what I'm going to see. And this very much was not that.
Yeah.
I got to go into this a little bit more blind, which is rare but nice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I saw the trailer a few times, did a trailer reaction for it because, as I said, the Japanese stuff is really where I enjoy a lot of the cinema, a lot of the animation coming out. I'm no anime expert by any stretch. Leave that to Emma 5 and Ben Goddard. That's not my, or even Winston A. Marshall. I'm more like I appreciate it when I get a chance to see it. I enjoy it, but I don't go hunting for it. But I like the fact that this had a very distinct Japanese approach. One last question before we get into the episodes. Did you watch it both in the English and the Japanese or just the English audio? How did you watch them?
Sadly, I just did the English audio, so
Okay.
you'll have to forgive me.
That's all
But
right.
yeah, it was really more of like a time thing and being
Yeah.
able to rewatch it with it in the background and not having to pay super close attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went for the English cast, and I've got some notes about the English cast as well, which
Cool.
was there were some really fun, kind of random casting of people that I did not expect to ever show up in Star Wars. So I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool too. I'm excited to get into it.
Absolutely. Well, let's do that. Yeah, there's so many actors and characters that were part of this. So let's get it. Let's start first by saying these are let's give credit to the animation studios here. Kamikaze Duga, Studio Colorido, Geno Studio Trigger, Kinema Citrus, Production IG, and Science Saru. Those were the 7 animation studios working with Lucasfilm Animation to make these 9 shorts. So Laura, let's go to you first. What are some of your favorite episodes from this Star Wars Vision season?
Let's see. I really, really enjoyed the twins. I mentioned that.
Mhm,
That one
mhm.
was just it was just so extra and it was so perfect in that way. So I enjoyed that. The
Yeah.
Village Bride I enjoyed just because it was very pretty to look at.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that was the one that had the best music for me. Maybe
Oh,
it was a different
interesting.
one, but I don't know.
Okay.
The Ninth Jedi is the one that when we got some advanced access to this to get to watch ahead of time,
Yes.
and I didn't want to spoil anything. But had to tweet about this one because it just as soon as I watched it, it just would not leave my brain. I just wanted to know what happened next. It's the one if they're gonna do one
Mhm,
where they extend the story, this is the one that I hope they do, the Ninth Jedi. Um, and then there were a couple that kind of surprised me.
mhm.
I really enjoyed the last one
Yeah.
was Akakiri, I think.
Akakiri. Yeah.
And that one had just a really surprising ending for me, so I really
Yeah.
appreciated that. I felt like that was a little bit like it was just very unexpected,
Mhm.
in the way that it ended up going. And maybe it wasn't for some people. I don't know why it was so surprising to me. I just didn't
Right.
expect it to kind of take the dark turn that it did at the end, but I really liked it.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are the favorites for me. How about you?
Yeah, that's very gutsy, right? That ending. I mean, to end on that note on the last
Yes.
episode of the anthology, not ending on an uplifting note, but rather a downbeat here. where the character goes off to become essentially a student of the Sith Lord there. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Yeah, I liked Akakiri as well. Henry Golding, Jamie Chung, George Takei, Keone Young, who of course was in The Mandalorian. He's the Jedi fighter in The Mandalorian, a Jedi pilot rather. Or no, not Jedi, sorry. X-wing fighter, not Jedi. I don't want to give a mistake there, but yeah, but I like the Duel right off the bat. I mean, that's the one that was the number one for me. All the other ones I could enjoy, but this one was the number one, just right off the bat. Total hardcore Kurosawa influences, hardcore samurai influences. I love the animation that was like looked like they was being drawn by a big black chalk pencil on a piece of canvas or whatever. I dug that vibe. The red contrasting to that kind of muted black and white that was throughout this thing. I thought it was incredible. Plus, the idea that it was, you think it's going to be Jedi versus Sith, but the twist is this is a former Sith who is collecting these kyber crystals, red kyber crystals, from other Sith. So this is like after I think the Sith is finished or is over, and so it's going through this thing. And he's a Ronin, which is of course a masterless samurai. So it just really worked for me on so many levels. Let's see, I enjoy the twins as well. I thought Neil Patrick Harris did a fantastic job voiceovering. Alison Brie got a big comical, but you know that's Alison Brie. She's a very funny comedic actress, and of course she's very has a multiple dimensions to her talent. If you see Glow. But I liked the animation here. The battle was so, like you said, it was a lot. It was visually just mind blowing. You know, if I was altered in any way, I think I would have enjoyed it even more. So it's just an intense 20 minutes for sure. Plus the idea of them creating these twins to bring balance to the universe. And the ironic thing is one twin breaks out because that's how you do bring balance in the universe. It isn't going one side only. It is having something to counter the other side, and he's doing it from a place of love. So he's the light, she's the dark, and that's the battle here. And I thought that was really cool as well. Yeah, Village Bride was good. Village Bride had the kind of it felt like almost like a Native American or tribal kind of approach to being one with the land, you know, letting the planet have the memories to show. I thought that was really cool as well. And the battle at the end was pretty fun. The Ninth Jedi, yes, you spoke about Ninth Jedi, but TOB1 I thought was really interesting too. I mean, I didn't anticipate an episode about a droid that wants to be a samurai, a Jedi, and then finding out that his creator was a
Is
Jedi
Geppetto.
himself. Yes, Geppetto. Yeah, in essence, was a Jedi himself. It had shades of Pinocchio. You're absolutely right. Also had shades of Blade Runner. The God, I can't remember his name. I can't remember the character's name.
I'm not going to be any help. Sorry.
Yeah, no, the character's name in Blade Runner who creates the little dolls who talk or whatever. It kind of feels that way. It felt that way as well as I was watching it, but it had that kind of Astro Boy feel to it as well, which I really enjoyed. And then the Elder. Oh, the Elder was my jam. Like it's the Duel, the Elder. Those are the 1-2 for me. Because it had that kind of prequel vibe to it. They got the little hair thing going on, like Anakin did, so the little tiger tail. So I thought that worked really well. And then to see James Hong playing this powerful Sith Lord, but also the lesson of the fact that you have power. When you have power, it's what you do with the power that matters, because eventually the power will decrease as you get older. You will lose the ability to do these things. So why not use the power when you have it to do good, to do great things, so that when it starts to dissipate, you'll have left some semblance of a legacy that is worth passing on. And I thought that was a great message. But the difference between the dark and the light. And yeah, just like you, the Akakiri is the other one that really struck a chord with me. Also because it was the most unusually animated of all the 9. It was so distinctly different. The other 8 looked like they were definitely taking advantage of the technology that was available. Even the Duel, which looked like it was just scratching on a canvas, it had an artistry to it. This was more simple animation. It was hand drawn, it felt like, or it had that vibe of hand drawn. And I dug that it was a little uglier, right? It was a little more brutal. The faces were a little more slimmer. The sister of the king, who is the Sith Lord, she was kind of like not that, kind of yanked out. I loved
Monstrous.
it. Yeah, monstrous. Yeah, exactly. And not that Lorraine Toussaint, who does the voice, is monstrous. She's not. She's a great actress. But it looked really well. It looked really cool to see that kind of stuff. Yeah.
For sure. I wanted to circle back
Yeah.
to the beginning, I think. Let's maybe just talk about the duel a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
Before we get into it, quick question. Have
Yeah.
you started Ronin at all?
No,
The reading the book?
I'm doing that this weekend. Yeah.
I haven't started it either.
Yeah.
So we're both coming at it from from not having any background of what's going on there.
Right.
Um, One thing I wanted to talk about with this one was that I think somebody mentioned that there are like First Order era stormtroopers in it,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and that was one of those things that I just did not pay any attention in
Mhm.
any of these episodes to what time period we were allegedly in. So I thought that
Right.
was an interesting catch. There are a couple of things I think where people are like, oh, well, there's an A wing and an X wing in the
Mhm.
background there, so maybe that's taking place in the original trilogy. None. I did not pay attention to any of that stuff, and I was happy to not be paying attention to any of this stuff. The fact that all of this was so detached
Yeah.
from everything that we know, I found actually very comforting, and
Yeah.
just very easy watching. Um, but there, when it comes to the duel, the the lightsaber parasol,
Oh,
like,
man.
that is what is what Alice called it when we talked about this on Forces, is just what right off the bat, we're getting super extra and way over the top with the lightsabers, and I was fully here for it.
Right.
But you talked about some of the battle sequences that in these episodes, and this
Mhm.
duel that takes place where one of the first things I think we see this Ronin do is actually like stop the lightsaber between his hands, where I was just
Yeah.
like, I mean, that was the moment I think for me in this show, watching these episodes in order where I was like, all right, I'm in. You've got
Yeah.
me. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to be paying attention now because that was cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't it's a former Sith. So
Yeah.
what happens to a former Sith? What is the path here? Is this is he trying to make up for the terrible things that he did in his past as a Sith Lord or as a Sith himself? And so goes wandering kind of like like a Ronin, but also like for those of you who are old enough to remember Kung Fu in the 70s, David Carradine wandering town to town to set things right because he always seems to stumble into towns that are besieged by some landowner or some corrupt group of bandits. Is that what's going on here? And as far as time here, it's from what I'm reading the description of synopsis here, it's set in an alternate history 20 years after a war between the feudal Jedi Empire and a renegade Jedi sect called the Sith. So that's what that's about. So, and there's a bunch of former stormtroopers, right? Exactly as you said there. So, if the design is First Order, maybe it's an homage of a design, or did it sense to you that it was an authentic design of the First Order stormtroopers?
I honestly am not sure because, like, I saw
Mm.
somebody else mention it. I wasn't paying attention to that kind of stuff at all. But I think that I really like how you can kind of tell, despite that, I like how you could sort of tell sometimes where the creators, I think, had a sort of affinity for a certain
Mm.
area of Star Wars. Like, I
Yeah.
think, and we'll talk about Tatooine Rhapsody, but I think, there's obviously a very hardcore love, I think, for the Phantom Menace in that
Yeah.
episode in
Yeah.
particular. And I think that there's a lot of love for The Last Jedi and the twins. And I
Yes.
think it just kind of, you get these little homages throughout. I didn't notice it a ton in the duel. That's not to say it wasn't there.
Mm.
It just wasn't one that stuck out for me. But you talk about sort of the hand drawing and how this
Yeah.
looked, and that very stylized episode, the stylized version that we got of this episode, I thought was
Mhm.
very cool compared to some of the other ones that maybe were a little less stylized. I mean, you talk about
Yeah.
how the last one sort of almost looked like ugly, which is a funny way to sort of mention it, but it's true. And it's just the
Yeah.
way that these were all so uniquely, designed and animated. I thought made it really fun. And the duel was one that really stood out in that aspect. Was
Yeah.
just the overall look of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on to Tatooine Rhapsody, as you mentioned here. This is one I didn't like. This is the only one I didn't really 100% like. I think this is a little too young for me. And the idea that, everyone, it looks like Muppet babies. They look like everyone was like Star Wars babies because they're all so small in comparison and everything like this. And, Jabba's a part of this. And Jabba rocking out with his tail to the beat. That was weird to me. And, having Boba was cool. I mean, I thought that was really nice. And having Tamora come back for like a couple of lines for this was really nice overall. But this idea that they're capturing this person and bringing them back to be executed by Jabba, and they think, well, we'll play one rock song, then we'll convince Jabba to be a sponsor, and then we'll save your life. And it worked out, but overall, I was just like, oh, this is a little too cheesy for me. Plus, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, not the best singer in the audio. Let me just say that right now. I think the Japanese person did a better job. No offense to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but yeah.
Oh, poor guy. The first thing that struck me about the music in this episode is that I feel like whoever like composed it or whoever had the idea of how the whole thing was going to sound must have been like a product of the same generation as me, because this was very much in the vein of like my 13-year-old self listening to the punk rock music that you would hear in the movies like American Pie. I mean, this was just right up that alley, but Star Wars, which is fun.
Yeah.
But I thought kind of the same thing. When you say Muppet Babies, the first thing that comes to my mind with this show is TOB1, but I can totally see where you're coming from with this one too. Um, I
So
loved having
shorter.
Tamura Morrison back. That was really fun.
Yeah.
But one of the things that stood out, I think, for me the most with this episode, besides the fact that, we had this very, very much an homage to the Phantom Menace, was some of the camera work was kind of cool. We get this like really cool sweeping shot of the Grand Arena on Tatooine, which was it was really fun to watch. I'm like, there was a lot of work and a lot of love, it feels like, that went into the Tatooine scenes in particular in this episode. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, thoroughly agree with you. I think you could say that about every one of these episodes. There was a lot of love that went in, a lot of respect to the world that they were walking into to create these stories, wanting to create their own stories, but still respecting in terms of the amount of talent and the attention to detail they had within each of these episodes. For sure. So yeah, and that was a nice lesson there. He was gonna kill Guy, who is the Hutt that didn't want to be part of the crime syndicate. But just like Sing, he just wants to sing. He just wants to be part of a band. He doesn't want to be in crime or do anything wrong there. So they have to, he creates space. Jabba does. He's got a heart in there somewhere. So, but yeah, okay. So let's move on to the twins. As we said, it's a lot going on here. Also, the great battles here. There's talk about an armor here. Alison Brie, voicing over the character there, wanting to have control. Am is her name, wanting to have the red kyber crystal inside of her to be able to wield this power. Bakar is the Neil Patrick Harris character, trying to stop this all from happening. And they confront each other outside of 2 Star Destroyers in space. This was pretty badass, in my opinion. What did you think?
I love that they were just like, oh, do we put like helmets on them? No. Do we like worry about whether or not they can? No, it doesn't matter if they can breathe. It's all good. We're just throwing caution to the wind. It doesn't matter. And yeah, the fact that these are 2 twins that are created by the dark side.
Yeah.
And but they don't know what their purpose is. And clearly Kare has like this desire to go out and find out what that is. But he still has this like dark side vibe too. Like he's got like, before I think he even maybe takes the helmet off, we see him like throw someone to get into a wall or something, where I was just like, yeah, boy, get it.
All the stormtroopers, because he walks through them and then turns around when they try to shoot him with the stun on their weapons. He just like throws them all against the wall. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Exactly. And then we get him like jumping to hyperspace, but he's like on the hull of the X-Wing. I'm just like, you guys. But they didn't care. They didn't care. And I love that they didn't care. It was over the top and it was awesome. And I love, that ultimately, in the end of all this like crazy extraness and badassery, it was ultimately this like love story.
Yeah.
With these 2 siblings, like this one sibling very much cares for the other. Am seems on the fence, and a little bit more driven for her own ambitions, I think. But it was just a really cool. Overall, it was just such a fun episode. This is one that I have no problem just turning on and having it on in the background and rewatching it over and over again, because and then inevitably getting distracted and just wanting to watch this.
Yeah,
because it was just that good. And we've got an epic droid. Our duo is Kare's droid in this episode. We've got so many good droids, just the best little boys in this series. But our duo, I think, is probably top 3 for me in this anthology.
You're a droid lover, that's for sure. So if you say that's a good droid, then it's a good droid. All right, the Village Bride is the next one here, and here's the quick synopsis: a Jedi on the run takes in the unique customs of a remote village under threat by a warlord. Karen Fukuhara is the one who voices the Jedi, and Kari Hiroki Tagawa is her kind of traveling companion, who is also part of this, part of trying to kind of force the confrontation here against this warlord on this planet. And as I said, has this kind of Native American vibe. We see these two young people that are going to get married, but one person, the girl, is going to be sacrificed so that the warlord is appeased and doesn't come after the entire village, because the Empire pretty much took all their stuff from them, and then this all their resources, and left the planet after they were defeated, and left a warlord and a bunch of clone troopers there, and he was able to manipulate, or no, sorry, what do they call
The B1s, yeah,
sorry,
the
the
B1
B1s.
droids.
Sorry, left the B1 droids there, and he was able to reprogram them to essentially be his battle army. And this is about that Jedi F there finally stepping forward to fight against these droids and this warlord. So I thought it was cool. I thought it was badass, and she had a yellow lightsaber, which I think is I did some research on. It's associated with Jedi Sentinels. Laura, what did you think when you saw the yellow lightsaber in this episode?
You know, the yellow didn't so much as strike me as
Hmm.
interesting as the actual shape of the blade,
Oh yeah,
and even the shape of
right.
the hilt. It looked very much like it was very like dark saber-esque,
Mm.
which I thought was really cool. So I thought that that was really fun, and the fact that we see her wield it in just the most epic way
Yeah,
at the end of this episode, and in heels nonetheless, not an easy task. It was just very cool. So seeing a yellow lightsaber, not something we get to see very often.
yeah.
But yeah, the shape of it as the dark saber blade was particularly cool to me.
Yeah. In doing the research, it says here Jedi Sentinels often became expert spies, trackers, and technicians. They understood that the Force couldn't be relied on to solve every problem they might face. And they also used yellow double bladed lightsaber pikes to aid them in safeguarding the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. So they're
Ah,
interesting to see the history of the yellow lightsaber, the yellow look there in Star Wars for sure. So yeah, I dug this one. Cool to see the land and the memories of the land. That was kind of very interesting as well. Anything more to say on this one, or should we move on to the next one?
this was the one that had the really cool, had a lot of vocalizing in the
Oh yes,
music
yeah.
that
Talk
was
about the
playing
music.
over it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just it was just awesome. That I don't have a whole lot more to say on it. I just thought it was
Mhm.
great. The groom Asu was voiced by Christopher Sean from Star Wars Resistance, so that was kind of fun to get to see him back in
Right,
Star Wars.
right. Cool. All right, we get into the Ninth Jedi. This is Laura's favorite. Am I correct in saying this is your number one favorite, the Ninth Jedi?
I
Is
think
this
so, yeah, for sure.
This one had Kamiko Glenn, Simu Liu, and Masioka, who I don't think I've seen much of Masioka outside of Heroes, that show from the NBC. So nice to hear him be a voice in this. And this is a nice twist and turn here, because the daughter of a lightsaber smith is pursued by dark forces while on a dangerous mission. And this is set many generations after Jedi Order becomes mostly extinct. Margrave Juro, the Jedi ruler of the planet High Islan, invites seven masterless Jedi to his aerial temple in order to receive lightsabers, whose design has been lost to time. Juro's droid gifts the first lightsaber to a young Jedi named Ethan, the youngest of the seven, as proof, promising the other Jedi that they will receive theirs once they are completed. What we find out is these Jedi are actually Sith. What a twist! We were told that this person, that the Sith person, was trying to stop the Jedi from coming back, but it's in fact it's the reverse. At the near the end of the episode, we discover that, and it's pretty cool.
It is, and I love that we've got, this young protagonist, Kara, who
Mhm.
has very much like, Leia vibes in terms of like
Yeah,
her outfit, and she's even got the helmet, I think, from like the Endor chase, the speeder chase. She also has a very cute droid because of course she does. But yeah, I thought Ethan was a really cool character, and I did not see this turn of all of these Jedi all of a sudden becoming like, normally in Star Wars you can kind of see the Sith coming, like they
yeah.
all look sort of evil, but like all these Jedi, like they looked totally normal. It was really surprising. So I really enjoyed this. I love this idea that there was like, you know, was is will be in the future. I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
all of the Jedi disappear, and to the point where the lightsaber design actually disappears. Like the
Yeah.
fact that that becomes such a rarity that that would ever happen in the Star Wars universe is like really mind blowing. That somebody would ever even think to put that into a story, I
Right.
think is just it's so creative and it's so great. So I really enjoyed Kara as our character, and I think that yeah, I would love to see more of her story.
Yeah, I liked how she was initially kind of like taken aback by everything that was happening, and then finally at the last minute played a hand and jumped in and got involved and had these awesome fight sequences with her against those Sith. And the Sith had killed the Jedi that had been invited and were posing as them, which is the twist there. And then they spare one of the Jedi, Holman, the sixth one, or Sith slash Jedi, because apparently, and he says this when he was a friend of Juro's, who is the guy who organized the whole thing. He's the one that was spared and then got caught up with them and went along with the Sith, and even says, "I'm sorry, their power was so overwhelming, I just went along with them." So very interesting to have someone redeemed in this moment once they're around a bad influence or removed from a bad influence. These little kind of subtle lessons that they're telling in these stories I thought were really interesting too, because this feels like it's directed towards kids, and if you can, or maybe young teenagers, and if you can sense the story behind what they're saying, then you've got another level to which to enjoy these shorts for sure. Yeah. Anything more on this, or should we move on?
I thought I had something else on the oh,
Okay.
there's the last detail. I just wanted to mention the
Oh yeah.
fact that we then like turn the camera sort of rotates and we see the temple turn on its head and it's got the light shooting out and the planet or the temple itself is shaped like a lightsaber. Very
Right.
cool detail. Just I there's so many little things in this episode that I appreciated. I just thought this was amazing. And I really hope that her dad is like still alive. I don't know if it was clear or not whether or not he was like a goner. I don't think
Right.
it was, but yeah, this one was 23 minutes long. It was a
Yeah.
little bit on the long side for me. I kind of prefer just the overall format of the shorter ones.
Mhm,
This is
mhm.
one of those things where I'm just like, do a whole show of this and make
Right.
all of them longer like this. That's what I would be here for.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and like a lot of these episodes, it leaves it open ended. You don't
It
know. They're going
does.
off to go rescue Zima. They're starting a new Jedi Order. Everyone, Ethan, Kara, and Haman are all part of Juro's new Jedi Order, and they're going after Zima. So we'll see what happens. All right, TOB1 is the next one. This one, Jaden Waldman voiced the droid TOB1, and then Kyle Chandler did the voice of Professor Mataka. I thought he did a really good job. It was unrecognizable. I had to look it up. Usually I like to test myself as a voiceover guy if I can pick out the voice of who it is. Couldn't figure out it was Kyle Chandler until I looked it up. So I thought this was very, very interesting and very unique. That rounded animation, more kind of, I don't know, what do you call it? Kind of more of a jolly animation, kind of a Santa animation overall. What did you think about this one? What stood out for you here?
I mean, I thought you'd hit the nail on the head earlier with Muppet
Mm.
Babies when you were talking about Tatooine.
Yeah.
That was very much the vibe I got from this one. I thought one of the first things that struck me, because it's one of the first things we hear, is the name Professor Mataka.
Mm,
Mataka's the name of one of the Imperial officers in The Force Awakens, so I thought that was interesting that we decided to reuse that name of all the names.
right.
Um, he's the one that the Kylo Ren force chokes on the finalizer.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
this was the one that felt the most geared towards children for
Yes.
me. And when
Mhm.
the first time I watched it, and even like for most of the beginning of it, I really didn't, I wasn't fully appreciating what I was watching. And it wasn't really until we started really getting into like some of Mataka's stuff where we're very much getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi character
Mm,
with
right.
this, which I really appreciated. And once we started hearing some of those lines, that's when I sort of started to pay attention a little bit more. Um, the overall like childishness of it really didn't land for me overall. But I did think it was kind of cool the fact that we were on a planet that had no life at all, and yet
Right.
this Geppetto like character is creating life all around him
Yeah.
with these droids. And I just thought that it was just really, it was a cool story. I wish it hadn't felt as childish as it did.
Mm.
I also did not recognize Kyle Chandler at all. That was a shock to me when I was like, no, that can't. I was like, that can't be right. That's got to be an error. So props to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the final battle too between Toby And that Inquisitor, I thought that was pretty badass the way it was designed. I mean, that's the challenge, right? All these animation studios, like, all right, we're going to design it this way. I wonder how much collaboration they had so that they wouldn't design the same kind of battle sequences as the other animated studios. I'm sure there was communication and conversation about styles and whatever, so you didn't receive like 7 stories and they all have the same kind of animation battle sequences. So it was great to see something unique here in this one. A little more of the slow motion, a little more of the shattering of stuff and freezing, all that. I thought that was really cool.
For sure, the, like, ancestral plane scene that we got that
Oh
was kind of
yeah,
a different animation style, that scene in particular I thought was really cool. I really
yeah.
enjoyed that, and, yeah, I'm gonna call it the ancestral plane like Black Panther because that's
Yeah,
what
well,
I thought.
yeah, absolutely. When he's like communicating and giving him lessons, that was awesome.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was very nice, and then his armor or whatever that I didn't even realize was armor until CO3, like, stuck himself on there and he kinda lit up like Iron Man. I was like, "Oh, dope." Like, the ending was cool. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Elder here. This one had David Harbour as one of the voices, Jordan Fisher, and James Hong as the Elder. You know, James Hong, everyone should know him from Big Trouble in Little China and Blade Runner and a million other things. But yeah, David Harbour, I think, did a really nice job with this Jedi that he was playing. Essentially, like, it felt like a Qui-Gon Jinn Jedi there, that he was like, and had the young Padawan there kind of instructing him and talking to him. This one was a slower story to tell, Laura. This one took its time getting there until we get to the Elder. Then the Elder has that, massive fight with the young Padawan, and it looks like he kills him. And then David Harbour's Jedi comes in and has the battle with him. And very interesting concepts that are talked about after the battle when he says, like, in his prime, the outcome might have been different. Like, he's very honest with himself that he caught him at the right time because this is an older version of this Sith Lord, and maybe this Sith would have been a lot stronger when he was younger, and David Harbour's Jedi would have lost here in this battle. So very interesting lessons to be taught here. Nothing to celebrate, something to learn more than anything else. So what do you think of this one?
100%. I think the thing I appreciated most about this one is how it reminded me of The Mandalorian in a way where it was not
Mm,
afraid to pause
yeah.
and have the quiet moments. And I think that was it was a nice sort of departure from, the battle sequence that we just had in TOB1 and
Mhm.
the over the topness of the twins. This was a much more quiet episode, and I kind of appreciated that, even with the duel that we got at the end.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize David Harbour actually in this role. That was surprising to me when I watched the credits. I was like, "Damn, I enjoyed it. I thought he killed it in this."
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't catch it till I caught the speech pattern. The little bit of the speech
Ah,
pattern, that's what usually gives it away. With Harbor has a very unique speech pattern. And so, like, I was like, oh, I think that's him. And then I looked it up. I was like, yeah. But how about Padawan Dan? How about that for a name? Are you running out of names?
Dan.
Padawan Dan. Let's just go.
I
Thought that
thought
was
that
cool.
was perfect. He was great, and I legitimately thought that he was dead. Like at the
Yeah, me
very, I
too.
was like, "Oh man, poor
Yeah.
David Harbour. He just lost his Padawan." But he, like, their dynamic I thought was really fun. We
Mhm,
have this sort of sarcasm, bantering back and forth that I really enjoyed. Um, but still, quiet, laid back, and
mhm.
relaxed episode. I loved their relationship. It was great,
Yeah.
and overall, it was fun. There was a little bit of, like, almost, like, evil, chaotic Yoda
Mm.
with the way that the Sith spoke. It was a little bit
Oh,
just kind
yeah.
of in this speech pattern is really all, like, where I got it, but I just thought it was kind of fun.
And a cockiness and a confidence.
Mhm.
And he did end up winning the battle against Padawan Dan before
Yep.
Tai Jin showed up and handled business. Yeah.
Padawan Dan.
That's gonna be the name of my fantasy team next year. All right, let's go to Lop and Ocho here. This one featured the voices of Anna Cathcart and Hiromi Damas or Dames. Hope I'm saying that right. A family is torn about what to do when the Empire encroaches on this planet. This one was quietly a really powerful episode here. This idea that this head of the planet here, what's his name? Yasuburo, and his daughter discover this kind of rabbit-like alien slave named Lop, who is escaping her captors on the planet Lao. They take her in, and the daughter is she's the one that wants to bring Lop in. She's so sweet and so nice, and she forces her dad to do it, and she's the one that's like, yeah, we're gonna be a big family. And then we cut to 7 years later, and she's been she's grown up and now she's rebelling against her father, her father in the old ways. She wants to embrace the technology in the Empire. This causes a rift. Then Lop, who's been there, adopted by them for 7 years, calling Yasaburo dad, calling Ocho sister, tries to stop the fight between them. And in the end, Ocho goes with the Empire in front of Love, takes off the stuff and goes with the Empire. And then we see father and daughter fight. And then Lope and Ocho eventually fight at the end. And two things, her riding up, like you said, in the twins, homie riding that through on the ship here. She comes rising up on the ship herself before she takes off without getting into the ship itself. Pretty cool moment. But also this kind of exploration of this father-daughter relationship. It had that what's the Claudia Gray novel, Dark Stars? It had that vibe to it where you're seeing someone converted into the Empire versus someone who wasn't converted into the Empire, and how that can affect their relationship that they had at the beginning.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this this episode more so than I thought that I would. I feel like this was an extremely popular episode. I think it was the one that I saw most people talking about, at least in my feed for whatever reason.
Right on.
And I thought that, that father-daughter dynamic that we got with these two characters, especially with this adopted daughter, we're sort of, revisiting that common Star Wars theme of found family. We got a lot of that in Star Wars Rebels. We're bringing that back here. And the fact that she's the one that inherits this lightsaber that's been passed down through the generations of this family, and nobody's questioning who she's related to and why she's so powerful. Like, it doesn't matter in this. And I love that that's just not, it's not a concern with any of these episodes. It's part of the reason I love the like completely detached element from the canon of all of this. I thought it was an interesting remark that somebody made. I think it was the father, about how the lightsaber represents a bond between parent and child, because I'm like, well, you're talking, everything, most of what we know about the Jedi is that they are not supposed to be parents and have children. So clearly that went awry somewhere along the lines in this sort of alternate universe. But it was just fun how they sort of brought those sort of, familial elements into this. And yes, coming up on the rising up from her fall on top of the fighter. I mean, there was almost an exact scene of that in Star Wars Rebels with Vader in I think it was Twilight of the Apprentice. And as soon as I saw it, I was just like, yes, dramatic entrance, super Vader-esque. Also the like Krennic cape, like let's bring that back for all the Imperials, because it just adds the drama. Love it.
That's true. You can't go bad with a cape. And I like that this one ends going to black with Ocho's voice saying, we're going to be a big family. We're going to be a family. It's the tragic note to end that particular episode on. And hopefully if there is a second season of Visions, we pick up some of these stories and get the next chapters. That could be a lot of fun. And of course it'll depend on what the viewership of this was overall in the reaction. All right, let's get to our last one here. Akakiri. This one, as we said, Henry Golding, Jamie Chung, George Takei, Keona Young. A Jedi returns to his forbidden love to defend her kingdom from a Sith-like shogun. This one also had a bit of a languid pace to it, Laura, overall. Tsubaki is the Jedi. He's troubled by these visions, and we see him from an unidentified individual dying in front of him. He reunites with his old love, Misa, who is a princess who has been overthrown by her dark side wielding aunt, Masago. With the aids of Senshu and Kamahachi, they make their way to the royal palace. Then we have this battle with them, and to save everyone and to bring Masago back to bring Misa back to life. Tsubaki hands himself over to Masago to be her apprentice. We talked about the animation already, but what do you think about the story here and what they explored with this ending as well?
Well, you mentioned that it was kind of a quiet episode, and that's kind of how I expected it to end, was sort of quietly. And then that was just the expectation completely turned on its head with this ending. And I think the story at the end, when we've got, the like force healing essentially happening, was like a reverse Ben and Ray situation. Like I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I love that we have this sort of it was very much like Obi-Wan and Satine. We've got
Mhm.
like this Jedi sort of falling in love with a princess, and we've
Right.
got, a kind of different ending in this situation. So it was like taking that story and almost giving it a what if kind of vibe.
Mhm.
Um, it was fun. I thought it was really cool. I thought that this one was, we talked about how it was sort of very, very much, a kind of different style,
Yeah.
and sort of the design element was a little bit unique, and it was kind of fun. At the end, there was, kind of kept coming back to the music a little bit, and
Mm.
there was like a sort of hip hop kind of vibe with the music at the end. It was just so unique and different. I really liked that they ended on this one. I thought that was
Yeah.
a really unique choice to have this one be the end of it for season one of this show. And yeah, very much hoping that there's a season two. And Henry Golding, just,
Oh,
oh yes, like, it's weird having him be in animation because I'm just like, but I want to see him. That's the point. I want to, but he did great as this character.
all
Super
right,
happy.
Laura, calm it down over there. Calm it down over
It's
there.
beautiful.
He is good looking dude, no lie. But I did also like that this episode kind of brought us all the way back to the beginning of Star Wars, having those two kind of what do you call those? What do you call it? Helpers or the assistants or whatever who they were. They're guiding her, the guides, I guess, guides
Yes.
guiding her through the stuff. That's Hidden Fortress, a princess with two guides is Hidden Fortress, which is of course what influenced the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, for George Lucas, with R2D2 and C3PO representing the guides for Princess Leia. So kind of connective tissue here to end with this one. I thought was great. And once again, a tragic ending, a sad ending, and a number of these had some tragic endings, which is part of Japanese anime for sure. So I thought that was really cool as well overall. But yeah, just good stuff here overall. Fantastic stuff here. What do you think would you want to see a second season of these, or do you just want to see some of these, maybe as you said, like Ninth Jedi, brought out and created into separate series of seasons of shows?
I mean, I think the Ninth Jedi would make a really great
Mm,
feature or a really great, series. I think that that's just a story that you could dive a lot, farther into.
right.
I think that I really, I'm fully on board for a season two of this. I think there's a couple of episodes of this first season that you could definitely continue on. I think there are
Mhm.
some that are fine to stay where they are. Tatooine Rhapsody for one, and maybe you bring in some new story to replace it, that maybe that will get a second, episode in season three if we get a
Right.
season three. I love the idea of like having some of them just be these little one-offs and these little stories. You just get a little bite and that's all you need.
Right.
And the fact that we, might have the option to get a little bit more to them, I think is really a really exciting prospect that I'm
Yeah.
fully in favor of. What are your thoughts on a season two?
Yeah, I'd love to see season two, and I'd like to see more animators brought in, and not just from Japan. Let's start exploring French animation, Russian animation. Let's start bringing those kind of influences and ideas and points of views and perspectives into Star Wars. So I'd like a more global approach if we go into a second season. Maybe pick out two or three of these and continue the next chapter in the second season, or maybe make the second season longer than 9 episodes, make it 12 episodes, so we can have some some influence, maybe some Swedish animation, what do you Spanish. I'd love to see a Spanish approach to it from Spain, or a South American approach to it, even Mexican approach to it in the animation. There's a lot to explore here that could be a lot of fun from the European, or from the other continents rather, around the world in their approach to Star Wars. Because if this is really a global brand, then show us that in the second season, and let's explore some fun new approaches to Star Wars. And Laura, I'll say this overall right now, I really love the direction that Star Wars is going in. This is what we were promised: new explorations of the franchise, new ways to push the boundaries, new ways to explore how to tell these stories. And a Star Wars story was supposed to be that. And then, of course, they got cold feet. And although we love Rogue One, there's an original cut of that Rogue One roaming around somewhere that would have maybe been even more darker of an approach to Star Wars, which I would have liked to have seen. Of course, Solo, whether you like it or don't like it, it didn't 100% get there overall for Lucasfilm, which is why they stopped doing a Star Wars story film. So I liked it with the Mandalorian here. We're going to get Book of Boba Fett with Visions. They're starting to move into a whole new direction here with Star Wars, and with the books as well. that excites me about where we're going. A more expansive approach as opposed to a singular, safe approach. I kind of am enjoying right now.
Exactly. I'm very much into the High Republic, so I'm
Oh,
fully
yeah.
in agreement with how, the direction that Star Wars is going, I think is really fun. And I love the idea of taking Star Wars visions into more global territory. I think
Mm,
that's a really fun idea. We've gotten a couple of things in terms of like, myths and fables, those kinds of stories. And I
right,
love that
right.
we're sort of expanding that idea and taking it to screen. With Star Wars Vision. So hopefully that kind of stuff continues. And I kind of like the idea of skirting the lines of like, is this canon? No. Are we just going to put random elements of canon in it and just kind of like see how it looks? Like, sure, do it. Keep doing that kind of stuff and keep it sort of detached
Yeah.
from the overall story. I think that kind of stuff's fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, in terms of the direction that things are going, High Republic is like top notch, you guys. It's so good.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks all to everybody who joined us to watch this episode, our return episode of the Jedi Way. We are going to continue the show now every 2 weeks, doing a topic. We'll have the occasional live show. I think once a month. We'll try to strive to do one live show once a month and have some interactions with you all. But yeah, the Jedi Way is back now, so plan on it showing up on the Outlaw Nation as we go forward. Thank you so much again for taking a chance on this. It's the first time watching it. We appreciate it even more that you're taking a chance on us talking about Star Wars. Laura Kelly, awesome. Always awesome to do the show with you. I'm glad we're back. Please tell people everything you got going on and where they can find you right now.
Sure. Come find me on Twitter. I am at shutup_Laura. You can find me at on Instagram at that handle as well. The show that I host with my friend Alice, where we drink wine and talk about Star Wars, is called Force Toast, a Star Wars Happy Hour. And you can find that at all of the wonderful places that you find podcasts.
There you go. And you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And yes, the old man's on Twitch. So come hang out with me on Twitch, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Follow or subscribe to me there. I've been doing some watch alongs of some sporting events. I'll be starting to do some watch alongs of movies on Amazon Prime now that I'm an affiliate. So maybe maybe those Star Wars films or Star Wars specials somehow we'll find a way to watch those as a watch along on there as well. We shall see. And of course, subscribe to the channel down below. We crossed 18,300 subscribers yesterday. Let's keep going towards 19,000, 20,000. Subscribe down below. Hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping all the new content we do here. Hit a like on this video. Leave a comment. Let us know what you liked. Which one of these stood out for you? What did you think about the animation? What do you think about the voiceover? Did you enjoy the Japanese voiceover as well? Shout out to all the actors in the Japanese voiceover. That's how I watched it the first time. They were excellent. Yeah, let us know what you thought about that. And if you like the direction Star Wars is going in with content just like this. All of that important. And remember to share this on your social media, because when you share it on your social media, you're telling people, hey, the Outlaw Nation and the Jedi Way is a cool place to go to enjoy some Star Wars content. All right, that's it from us. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And Laura, what do we have to tell them?
We have to tell them a question that came up in a recent Shmoda match for me, which was awesome. Your focus determines your reality.
Take care.